Deep in the heartland of China, there's a place few Westerners ever get to see. In a country where religion is frowned on, the Shaolin Buddhist monastery operates openly, doing what it's done for 15 centuries. On the surface, a place of learning, of serenity and peace. But there's something very different about this place. This is what Shaolin is all about. It's called Kung Fu, and Shaolin is where it all started. For the monks here, the way to spiritual enlightenment is pushing themselves to the extremes of pain and endurance. Yung Xin is the Shaolin master. He's the 29th in a succession of leaders going back to the 6th century. Half a millennium before Australia was discovered, monks were walking this part of the temple.
We don't practice the martial arts or kung fu just for the sake of exercise or staying healthy. What we do here in the temple is to learn a special method of meditation. It not only improves the monks' bodies, it improves their souls.
Do you hear the grasshopper, which is at your feet?
Old man, how is it that you hear these things?
Young man, how is it that you do not?
In the Kung Fu series, the Shaolin Temple is where the blind master Po passes on the mysteries of the martial arts to his disciples. Of course, there never was a Master Po, nor a grasshopper for that matter. But the rest wasn't too far removed from reality. In the movies, the Kung Fu stars seem to defy the laws of logic and gravity, flying through the air and using mystical powers to travel through time and space. It's highly unlikely that the monks here at Shaolin will ever be able to fly, but their abilities are every bit as impressive as the movie stars. And what's more, they're for real. The monastery takes novices from the age of 12, and some remain all their lives. They call this place the Forest of the Pagodas. The stone towers are the final resting place of former masters of the temple. For the monks, every morning begins with meditation and practice. But soon enough, Kung Fu seems to always come back to someone getting a damn good whacking. That should have hurt a great deal, did it?
Not really.
So how do you avoid that pain? How do you stop feeling pain?
Well, it takes a long time to train for this. So now the trick is to just let it roll off us. It doesn't affect me.
For 15 centuries, Shaolin has prided itself on having the most skilled fighters in China. Legend has it that way back, the monks repulsed an attack with ways of fighting no one had seen before. Now, everyone has seen all the Kung Fu tricks. But still, no one does them quite as lethally as the Shaolin monks. And nowhere else do Kung Fu fighters take it quite so seriously, putting themselves through excruciating ordeals. So how do you prepare to lick hot shovels, break bricks with your hands, or have poles shoved into your body?
Well, we believe that these are all methods of meditation. As monks, we have to find a way to have good things come out of bad, happiness to come out of pain, and the monks are trained for this. They don't feel any pain. Their happiness is not a result of being richer or having more possessions. It comes from the bottom of their hearts.
They start them young at Shaolin. This boy is just 12, and when we met up with him, we noticed he had swollen red hands. It turns out that he does 2 hours punching practice every morning. They don't hurt?
Well, normally it doesn't, but sometimes it is. So, but I don't think there's a problem for me.
Can you recall what it was like when you were a very young boy entering this monastery for the first time?
When young boys come to the temple, we have to judge whether they're going to be good Buddhists and whether they are serious about religion. Then we start the training and keep watching to see whether they're coping. We teach the different martial arts and meditation techniques until they've proved themselves. During this time, they have to get rid of all their bad habits and become good monks.
The Shaolin Temple is so highly regarded in China that a number of schools specialising in martial arts have become established around the monastery. This school has turned out over 13,000 graduates who end up working for the army or the police, or become kung fu teachers themselves. Meanwhile, back at the monastery, they've found a new way to risk life and limb. There's no doubt that if this routine went wrong, at least one monk would be in closer contact with God. Nothing about life is easy here in Shaolin. The monks live by 3 rules: rise early, go to bed late, work and more work. And even when they're not working, you couldn't call this resting. It's meditation and a whole new view of the world. Then there's hanging meditation, which takes at least 3 years of practice before the monks can reach this level. It's not a trick. They're holding themselves up by their neck muscles. Training continues even during meal breaks. This is called the horseman position, and it's supposed to remind the young monks of the time when the early Shaolin masters fought on horseback to defend themselves. And of course, no meal is complete without a cup of tea, even if the way it's served is, well, unorthodox. To carry a table in your mouth, that must require an extraordinarily strong jaw.
I think this is nothing for us, because, for example, carrying the table by the mouth is only just one of the methods of meditation, and we believe that we have to find happy things from difficulties.
This Shaolin routine is described as the iron crotch kung fu, and yes, that is a very heavy stone. On a family program like 60 Minutes, perhaps no more needs to be said, except that there is a variation of the iron crotch kung fu called pulling a stone roller.
This is our tradition. So over 1,500 years, there are lots of monks who have practiced this technique. We don't find it hard.
I'm sure there are many men in Australia who would try kung fu, but I'm not sure how many would try those extraordinary feats.
Yes, I agree, but if they tried it, they would have more interest in meditation. You can learn to do good meditation, not only in the temple, but sometimes even in the office after work.
What started at Shaolin 15 centuries ago has now been refined and copied around the world. And China's communist government has encouraged the martial arts in schools with the religious overtones suitably censored. Shaolin's routines may seem crazy and dangerous, But it's from that tradition that these young men have gained this extraordinary level of strength and discipline. If it came to a fight, you'd want these guys on your side.